Domain expansions are probably the most exciting aspect to a character's offensive ability. In Jujutsu Kaisen, Akutami really shows his imagination by basically creating unique worlds and other dimensions within the sphere of a domain expansion. Offensively, it's the checkmate move that allows the user of the domain expansion to guarantee themselves a hit against their opponent, which is why domain expansions would usually be used as the finishing move to end the fight. Here in this video, however, I have picked out 5 of the best domain expansions we have seen so far in the series. This is also a quick reminder that number 1 doesn't necessarily mean it's the strongest domain expansion. Rather, all 5 domain expansions in this list are, in my opinion, the strongest, but I don't think there is a particular order in which one is the weakest and the strongest. They're my favorite domain expansions. Let's go to number 5, Coffin of the Iron Mountain, which is Jogo's domain expansion as we see it for the first time in episode 7 of Jujutsu Kaisen. The environment constructed by this domain resembles the inside of an active volcano. It is a sealed-off stone chamber with large fissures across the walls and the ground that spouts large portions of magma. This produces an ambient heat so great that the average Jujutsu sorcerer would combust upon entering the domain. Coffin of the Iron Mountain is a lethal domain that includes a guaranteed hit. The user, well, in this case it's Jogo, can command molten rock that extends from the environment to hit their opponent with a can't miss attack. It's a shame that he used this domain expansion against Gojo of all characters. Gojo is the strongest character in the verse that can potentially only be rivaled by 20 Fingers' full-powered Sukuna, and even then Gojo believes that he will win that fight, as he stated to Yuji. But yes, this domain expansion is still awesome, despite Gojo making it look like a joke. But if it was anyone else, they would be burned alive as soon as they enter the domain. Number 4, Unlimited Void, Gojo Satoru's very own domain expansion. This domain expansion brings the user and their targets inside the limitless world itself, a vast void of infinite knowledge. Boundless raw information floods into the target's mind, overwhelming them to the point where they're completely immobilized. Complete incapacitation of the target is caused by a phenomenon where the target will be able to see and feel everything while not being able to see or feel anything at the same time, as Jogo explained in episode 7. All the actions one has taken in their life is forced upon them infinitely, and they can't do anything but die slowly. This effect does not affect the user or anyone they're touching with no intent to harm. In this domain, you're more or less frozen in time with endless information, as we saw in the very episode Coffin of the Iron Mountain was showcased by Jogo. Jogo was just there, completely stunned with information, and he's a special grade cursed spirit. Apparently us normal people can only last 0.2 seconds within Gojo's domain. Any more than that, we would die, as that is too much information for normal humans to carry, as Gojo revealed this in the Shibuya incident arc, chapter 89, when Gojo was fighting off against Mahito, Hanami and Jogo, was also fighting off an army of transfigured humans. With 0.2 seconds within the domain, it was stated that the normal humans only had half a year's worth of information, which left everyone unconscious. In the anime, it looks amazing. It's like Gojo teleports into space and just lets the vast galaxies completely overwhelm their opponent. Awesome stuff. And since it's a domain expansion from the strongest character in the series, it's probably the strongest domain expansion, but the fact that it kills you with information aiming to kill your mind rather than trying to directly attack you physically makes Gojo's domain expansion stand out from the rest. Number 3, Malevolent Shrine. Now we go to the domain expansion of the strongest female in the series. Environment of Sukuna's domain expansion takes the form of a Buddhist shrine that has been disfigured to enshrine a demon such as Sukuna himself. The shrine has horns on the roof, skulls hanging at each of the corners of the roof, mouths coming out of each side of it, and is surrounded with bull-shaped skulls. Malevolent Shrine is different from other types of domain expansions in that it doesn't create a separate space within a barrier. Instead, Sukuna can directly manifest it into reality while able to have a sure hit effect without requiring a barrier. Because of this, it is considered a truly divine technique, as the ability to realize one's innate domain without using a barrier is akin to an artist drawing on thin air instead of a canvas. By allowing an escape route due to the absence of a barrier, a binding vow is created which increases the domain's effective area with a maximum radius of nearly 200 meters. The radius can be narrowed down if desired. Within Malevolent Shrine, Sukuna is able to utilize Cleave and Dismantle to relentlessly cut anything in its radius. Dismantle targets inanimate objects while Cleave targets anything with cursed energy. All of this was revealed in chapter 119 in the Shibuya incident arc. Ironically, when Gojo got sealed away in the prison realm, that's when Sukuna got unleashed and killed so many people thanks to Malevolent Shrine. Sukuna's domain expansion reminds me of Majin Buu in his Super Buu form when he unleashed the human extinction technique that killed every human being on Earth. It's literally a never-ending onslaught of mass murder. It's the ultimate killing technique if you want to unleash carnage onto the world, which Sukuna, being the strongest demon in the world, loves to do. Number 2, the domain expansion of our favorite attorney other than Harvey Specter, of course. Deadly Sentencing is Jujutsu Kaisen's very own Hirumi Higuruma. Deadly Sentencing is unique even amongst Jujutsu Kaisen's inherently individualized domain expansion. Whilst other domains have a can't miss clause that force all the domain users' attacks to hit their target, Hirumi's Deadly Sentencing instead forces those inside to play by its rules. Essentially, the domain functions as a trial, with a Shikigami called Judgment presiding and Hirumi acting as the head prosecutor. The trial can end in 3 ways, with the defendant being proven innocent and let go, guilty and having their curse techniques or energy confiscated, or guilty and sentenced to death. While powerful, its convoluted rules and setup makes it somewhat difficult to use in the heat of a battle. This domain expansion was revealed in chapter 165 during the Culling Games arc, and I love it. Yes, it's not an actual attack, but seeing the courtroom drama take place more than makes up for it. Especially with Yuji, as he has to face the reality that even though he wasn't the one that killed all those people in Shibuya, and it was actually Sukuna, because he's Sukuna's vessel, he has to take on that burden. It's probably the only domain expansion that attacks the person's inner character rather than do physical damage. This was a test of Yuji's character, and seeing whether he should lie or take the blame for Sukuna's evil acts is as good as any fight within the series, because Yuji is essentially fighting himself in this case, literally. But yes, this is number 2 for me. Number 1, Idol Death Gamble. Kinji Hikari's notorious domain expansion, which can be confusing to understand. Idol Death Gamble, as the name would imply, is the technique that essentially sees Hakari gambling with his cursed energy, trying to hit a jackpot within the time limit. Upon hitting the jackpot, however, Hakari becomes the strongest character of this series, even rivaling Gojo at a stage during the whole process. The jackpot is what makes this domain expansion so powerful. It allows Hakari infinite and overflowing cursed energy for 4 minutes and 11 seconds. His body reflexively performs reverse curse technique as a result, making him simultaneously incredibly overpowered and virtually unkillable for 4 minutes and 11 seconds. Furthermore, Hakari can continuously perform domain expansion because of the infinite cursed energy it allows, letting him constantly hit the jackpot. Without the jackpot, Idol Death Gamble wouldn't be an effective domain expansion to use, as you will be relying heavily on luck. Now, let me just explain quickly how this domain expansion works, as it is by far the most confusing domain expansion in the entire series, but also the most entertaining. Idol Death Gamble is a game with a romance manga theme, where Hakari has to roll 3 of the same numbers/symbol. He has 3 types of action previews that he can use when he rolls: Pachinko Balls, a simple attack; Crane Doors, based off of his fight with Yuji, is a trapping attack; and Pseudo Roll. When Hakari rolls 2 of the same number, a reach action plays, which is simply just an animation to hype up the 3rd roll. Once Hakari wins the jackpot, the domain ends and the music plays. Now, Hakari's next consecutive domain, if he wins jackpot of odd numbers, causes him to enter probability shift mode, increasing his odds to 20%. Because of the fact that Hakari's sure hit is harmless, the activation time of the domain and the time it takes to transmit the rules to the opponent is insanely fast, and confirmed faster than 0.2 seconds. Pseudo Roll Reroll is a single sequence, which just means in terms of the game, the number looks like it stopped rolling, but it's actually still going on. But in terms of combat, it just means Hakari can negate damage. I hope that all clarifies everything. It really is an amazing read when you read the rules of his domain in chapter 187. It just gets you thinking what the hell is going on. But because of the bizarreness of it, as well as making Hakari the strongest character in the series, albeit on a temporary basis, I think this domain expansion deserves the #1 spot on this list. But if you disagree, let me know in the comments down below.